Well, welcome all my dear friends. And, as I look around, I think just about every friend in the world I have is in here right now. And it's very nice. We are all obviously gathered together to honor the memory of Chris Lindsay Alderman. But before we do, some acknowledgments are in order. A great many of the staff here at the Unity Spiritual Center are donating their time and talents to make today happen. We've got Michael and Bent back in the audio-visual area who are handling all those duties and making sure this gets streamed. Susie's been here since 1 o'clock when I got here. She's the person who sets up and runs just about everything on the campus. Even one of the kitchen crew came out because there are some light snacks when we're done if you'd like. Reverend Kathy made the long drive from Ojai again, as she's been doing for years now. And this entire space was also donated for this event. And I just want the Unity Church to know how deeply grateful I am for everything that you're doing. And so with that, let's get started.
Welcome, friends. So good to see you. We meet here today to honor and to celebrate the life of Chris Alderman and to express our love and our admiration for her. And it's only natural that maybe we have some sadness come up. And if you do have tears, let your tears minister to you. Because in a practical sense, Chris is no longer a part of our earthly, physical lives. However, today, we consider this, I don't know, maybe kind of like an Irish wake, if you will, without the beer. There will be music, there will be storytelling, prayers, and as the Irish say, a time for merrymaking, because that's exactly the way Chris would want it. But first, let's talk about Chris and where she is as a soul. In Unity, it is our belief that spirits are, when they move on, they never die, and that it's simply a separation, if you will, of the soul from a particular body. The body is merely a vehicle that the soul has worn for a particular time. The body is basically an earth suit, if you will, and that soul it has resided with or in for a particular time. And energy can neither be created or destroyed. It just changes form. So in essence, Chris has never left. It is just that we are now, you and Chris, are in vibrationship with her. The veil between this world and where Chris is whisper thin. My friends, loved ones on the other side want you to connect with them. They want to help you. They want to be with you. And they love you so darn much. And to fully connect, it takes you making the connection through the love that you have for them. That is the frequency that you tune into to connect. And you can say that is Chris's 1-800 number is LOVE. You tune into the love you have for her, and she's right there. So let's begin with prayer and calling Chris's 800 number. So close your eyes for a moment. Take a moment to remember a most wonderful time that you had with Chris. And as you remember that time, remember the love that connected the two of you. Allow that love to just vibrate through your whole entire being. And we now magnify that love by exchanging that vibration of love with each other. So now that that wonderful soul, Chris, is present here with us in a most wondrous and loving way, I want you to take a moment to just send her your gratitude. Send her a blessing of some kind, and it might be of love or peace, whatever that might be. And so, dear God, we give thanks for this child of yours, in whom we know you are so very well pleased. We release her, and we always know that she is just a whisper away. And to you, Chris, we say, God bless you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen.
Looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, we all know she couldn't stay. Now my world seems wrong, and I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Why she had to go, we all know she couldn't stay. Now my world's gone wrong, and I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. I'd really like to get through this, so I'm going to be staring at the page instead of you, because the page doesn't make me feel nearly as emotional. Chris and I were together for 27 years. And for 27 years, she drove me absolutely crazy. And for 27 years, I was absolutely crazy about her. We both felt the entire time that we were together that we had each married well above our station. I thought, this gorgeous, brilliant, talented woman, how could she be interested in a guy like me? And from her perspective, how could a guy like me be interested in a woman like her? But I was crazy about her, and incredibly, she was crazy about me too. Chris was the most impressive person that I've ever known. She was wicked smart, and no surprise, her father was a physician, her mother was a Rhodes Scholar. She was also one of the most educated people I've ever known, although she had little formal education. She never graduated high school and just had a smattering of college courses. But she read more widely and voraciously than anyone I have ever known, and she understood and remembered everything she had read, every single thing. So there was no topic you could bring up about which she couldn't engage in pretty high-level conversation. We disagreed about some pretty fundamental stuff, but I learned to respect her points of view and listen to her carefully because even if I thought differently, her thoughts were always worth considering. In an age that seems increasingly filled with thoughtless diatribes, she remained steadfastly thoughtful, and she was wicked smart. She was also what I believe is now called a difference maker. Whenever she saw something that was wrong in her eyes, she always struggled to make it better. After horrible hospital birth experiences, she was among a very small group of women who made midwifery legal in Colorado, probably her biggest accomplishment in life. It was the perfect career for her because she could work virtually unsupervised and was hired by people to tell them what to do. When she joined the choir here at Unity, she saw the chaos of Noreen's office, and she became our filer extraordinaire. Anytime no matter where she was, she always was trying to do something to make it better. But unfortunately, the way she manifested this quality was part of what made people crazy. She could get bossy, as many of you know if you didn't turn your music in on time. She noticed my sisters and me not helping our dear mother enough. And so she made sure we did from that point on, and she went in to help herself. But she had a lot of confidence in her perspective on things, and she would end up taking over my mother's kitchen, which is not a very politic move. Her motives were always good. Her reasons for change were sound, even if not everybody shared them. But I wish she had found ways to do that a little less abrasively, because her attempts to do the right thing sometimes left feathers ruffled. She knew she could be annoying, and it hurt her that this was so. But she had the courage to continue to try and affect change nonetheless. So even though I was often very annoyed, I admired her very much. Chris's courage was never more on display than during the 5 years she coped with breast cancer. While the oncologist kept her tumors quiet for a long time, it came at a very heavy price. The drugs she took ravaged her body, taking her beauty, causing endless discomforts, wearing her down year after year. But she struggled every day to keep herself going. She suffered, but she never complained. She hated seeing herself decline, but she never got crabby, she never got mean, she never lost her composure. And she never gave in to fear, even knowing where all this was leading. She never gave in to fear. I've always known she was strong, both physically and in character, but I never knew how strong until I watched her cope with this. If you became a close friend with Chris, she was the best friend you could have. There are, among you who are here and some who couldn't be here, women whose lives were improved immeasurably by Chris. She was counselor, therapist, sounding board, and sympathizer, and Lord, she was good at it. I got to watch her touch your lives and see the deep affection you showed her for it, and I feel very fortunate that I was able to witness that. You know, it was really frustrating trying to write this speech because there's no way I can do justice in speaking about Chris and her qualities unless I go on for 3 or 4 days. So instead, I want to thank all of you for being here, but more than that, I want to thank all of you for having taken Chris into your hearts and showing her your acceptance and approval. While many of you saw many sides of her, not all easy to be with, all of you saw the things about her that made me treasure her. I hope you can tell how much you all meant to her, how rare and precious were the gifts of acceptance and approval you gave, things that she was without for much of her life. This is the most important sentence. Because of what you all did, Chris Alderman died in the prime of her life. I want you to remember how powerful your hearts and acceptance and approval can be, and to spread them as widely as you can from this day forward. That would be the greatest thing you could do to honor her legacy. That would do everything to help her soul rest in peace. Well, we're here, but Chris did not want there to be a last event like this. She was afraid we would all come and say our goodbyes, and then she would be lost to thought and memory, that all of us would then go back to normal, whatever that is. But I don't think that's true. I know she'll never be lost to me. She was the best. She was my best friend ever. She made me feel loved and adored like I never thought possible. She was my nurse. She was my confidant. She was my partner, and she was my lover. And I will remember and miss her every day of my life.
In a moment, we'll open up the room if you want to say a few words. And we ask that if you've written a 100-page novel on Chris, that maybe you might want to cut it down a few pages before you get up here, just so that we can respect the time for all of those that may have traveled. And that being said, I want to acknowledge and to call forth Chris and his sister to come up here. And you know what? If you do have a 100-page novel, you're allowed. Either one of you can just speak as long as you want. And then after the two of them, just feel free to come up here, say a few words about your experience and to touch into that love that you have for Chris. And so with that, I invite the two of you forward.
And for the four of you who don't know them, it's Grayson and Tasha.
Hello all, my name is Grayson, and I would like to speak to you about my mom, Christine Stella. A few of you probably heard that name. She hated it. So she changed it. She stood for herself and for what she felt was worth fighting for. That was my mom. In all honesty, her name was one of many hardships she shared with us about her parents before she lost them far, far too soon. I never knew them. I knew her 40 years. It's an interesting thought to me that I have known her longer than anyone, and at some point in time, that will no longer be true. The length of our relationship in this existence is now a finite point in time. It's clear that time was not enough. She chose to pass alone. It was during a brief moment between people being in the room with her. She did it her way. I like to think these final years she no longer wanted nor ever felt alone. And today, here, and over the past few months, it's clear she had all of you and more. Becoming a parent 2 years ago was the most wonderful thing that has ever happened to me. And one of the things I realized I had wanted most of my life was for my kids to have a larger family than I did growing up. For them to have multiple sets of grandparents and extended blood, unlike my sister Tasha and I had. I am so very saddened my mother won't see my daughter and son grow up, or see where our family goes from here. My son was just born a week ago today. I so wanted them to have that grandma. Talking to my 2-year-old daughter about death of my mom has been challenging. I say to her, I am sad. And yet there is something cathartic to speak about it in this simple way. I am sad. I mourn the loss of this woman whom I have known longer than anyone else on earth. I wish she had been able to know me better. I wish she was here to know my daughter growing up and to know my son. I wish she was here to share profound thoughts with, as I have over the years. I've had many moments lately where my first instinct after a thoughtful breakthrough was to call her and share it. As true as that is, I am also thankful she is no longer suffering. I am thankful we had time together in the end, so nothing went unsaid. I am thankful she was able to feel my son moving through my wife's belly before he was born. I am thankful we got to come together as a group with her one last time and share those moments with her before she passed. I am thankful for the strengths I have learned and gained in knowing her. I am thankful for the love I know she had for me. She was vibrant. She was inexorable. She was luminous. She was unyielding. She was unapologetic in her righteousness, defending her ideals and those whom she stood up to protect. She successfully fought to change laws in Colorado to benefit women's rights, their health, and their babies. She was self-determined. She was vulnerable. We all knew her differently. But stories and words shared here and in the past few months I know will be echoed between ourselves over the years to come. I wanted to thank each and every one of you today, once again, for sharing your stories of my mom, especially from the loving perspectives that you all had. I am lucky to say I have no regrets in this space. I am thankful my mom and I were able to spend her last days together. Later, I will listen to Rachmaninoff, our favorite composer. It's a fond memory of both the time we spent watching symphonies and orchestras play and the time I spent playing in symphonies and orchestras, and she was the only one in the audience I knew. You will be missed, Mama. Tasha.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tasha. First, let me say just how overwhelmed I am at the amount of you who have come from near and far to be here to celebrate my mom. It means a lot, and I will never forget this feeling. So, in 2023, my mom was given a various set of questions about her life, and it was made into a book. And so I thought I'd read a little bit out of it. These are her words. First question: what have been some of your life's greatest surprises? 1, that humanity hasn't blown itself to kingdom come yet. 2, how mean people can be. 3, that I could actually become a more healthy person and have so many friends and rich social life. That's all of you. 4, getting old. 5, that I've gotten to visit international places I have: Costa Rica, Belize, Spain, Portugal, Morocco, England, Wales, Scotland, Australia, and New Zealand. 6, that my kids still tolerate me. 7, that I live in paradise with the man of my dreams. 8, getting diagnosed with cancer, particularly breast cancer, since I had a baby at a young age and nursed for 7 years. Then getting diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer after I was sure I was done with that. 9, that certain people have been able to forgive me. 10, that I have been as lucky as I have. And 11, that I'm still alive today. Next question: what would you like to be remembered for? To be truly seen and known and accepted is such a gift, and I just recently read what Rob wrote about what he values in his spouse. Who knows me better? What kind of person I want to be? How much struggle it is to change? How vulnerable is my self-assessment? Other things I'd hope would come to mind if my name comes up after I'm gone. I'd like to be remembered for being curious and interested in many things, for being bold and brave and taking initiative in ways that improve a situation, for being an open book so people don't wonder what's going on, for the degree of my willingness to forgive. It would maybe be more to the point to say my commitment to forgiving and accepting. I know I'll be remembered by my clients for facilitating their dreams for their birth stories. They will pass that down, and while it may no longer be attached to me specifically, it is still something that came from my heart and my hands that lives on. That is something that gives me much satisfaction in terms of my positive effect on the world. Probably above all, I always told my children that my hope was simply to improve upon what was my own emotional and behavioral heritage from childhood, and that they would then do the same in their turn. And eventually, our family line could be made sane, wholesome, and happy. So I guess what I want to be remembered by them, for really putting in a lot of work to try and fulfill that idea. And then to close, I have 2 poems. This first one is directed at my children, Jack and Ava. Right now, I'm in a different place, and though we seem apart, I'm closer than I ever was. I'm there inside your heart. I'm with you when you greet each day, and while the sun shines bright, I'm there to share the sunsets too. I'm with you every night. I'm with you when the times are good, to share a laugh or two. And if a tear should start to fall, I'll still be there with you. And when the day arrives that we are no longer apart, I'll smile and hold you close to me, forever in my heart. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no right in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not for long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all part of the master plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know and laugh at the little things we used to do. Miss me, but let me go. Thank you.
I'm Babs. I'm Rob's sister, so Chris's sister-in-law. Chris was fierce. Chris was challenging. Chris was stimulating. Chris was a woman of many, many colors, every color but gray. And what I really appreciated about Chris, first of all, that she brought Tasha and Jack and Ava, and maybe Toby, and Grayson and Pau and Rose and Kaladin into the family. And what I really appreciate about Chris is that she was able to talk about everything and anything, including what it felt like to her to be dying. I loved that about her. We had many, many, many deep conversations. And at the end, I dared to ask how she felt and how things were changing for her, and she could talk about that. But the thing I appreciate most is that she loved my baby brother the way I wanted him to be loved.
Hi, I'm a member of the choir, and yes, I had to get yelled at a couple of times to probably shut up or something. But the thing I wanted to share with you that nobody knows is that she would come to the same gym class I went to. And she and I stood in the back, and different times, she'd have on different wigs and different hats and different whatever, and we would, it was very much most everybody else sat. And so she and I would be in the back doing our things, going up and down, and we'd wander around the class kind of dancing. And I think that brought joy to the people there. And it was kind of a really fun memory. And one of the ladies in the class, she came up to me a few weeks ago and said, "Where's Chris?" And I was talking to her about it. And she just loved Chris because she said, she said she was the kindest person in the class. She helped everybody who came in who was new. And so I have a memory outside of this group, and I'm glad I can keep that one. And I love that we danced together.
I am also a choir mate of Chris's. I'm Mary Jo. But even more than that, Chris taught me how to play, which, given Chris's personality, it surprised the heck out of me because I was afraid of her. And we had a very similar beginning in life, really rough, and had to fight our way to normalcy. Had to forgive ourselves for what we did to our children as we were healing ourselves. And to have taken that journey, we recognized each other as soul sisters. And to have emerged from that journey whole and happy was pretty remarkable. So when we got closer because of our friend Karen, who couldn't be here today, but hello, Karen. And I wore this skirt for you. It's a Karen, if you know Karen. And Karen got us all together, and she put Chris and Anne and me and herself, and we became a group of magical, mystical women. And we would find things and ways to play. And we would sing in the park. And she put together a quartet in which we sang when she thought she was going to die soon. And she picked the song "Dream a Little Dream of Me," which was no accident, but she made it wonderful. And she put us all in nighties to sing in the church. And we did just a bunch of things that were remarkable because I had never learned how to play. I had learned how to get things done. I had learned how to take control. I had learned how to be tough, but I hadn't learned how to be soft. And Chris taught me that through play. So I will miss her immensely. But so glad that she left Rob in such a great shape and all the things that he has in his life now. And I want her whole family to know that she died in peace because of you. And because you loved her anyway, in spite of the mistakes, in spite of the temperament, in spite of the things that didn't make it easy. But you were there, and you've been there to the very end. And she's still with us because she loves you so deeply. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kyoko. I'm a choir member, former choir member, or however you want to put it, with Chris. But I really got to know her when I led a small women's spiritual group for over a year. And she was in it, and I was never really confident about my leadership skills. So when things got rocky and challenges came up, I could always go to her. And like Rob said, she was a counselor, a therapist, a mentor, and there wasn't anyone better. She would ground me, calm me down, and give me that courage. So I was thinking about coming up here and saying that before we started. And she asked me to, as you know, Kathy mentioned how thin the veil is between the worlds. And Chris has a message for you. I've been an intuitive for many years, and here's what she wants you to hear. I am so glad that all of you are gathered to be together and remember me and know that with your love and interactions, I will always be there on earth. And I want you to know that I'm happy that the amount of love on this side is beyond words, and I send that all to you. Thank you.
I'd like to tell you about some of my memories of my most precious friend, Chris. I met Chris about 6 years ago when I joined the Unity Choir. And from the very beginning, Chris was so kind, and she made me feel so welcome. One Sunday when we were singing, my sister was visiting, and Chris heard my sister call me Missy. Later, Chris asked me why she called me that. And I said, it's my family's name for me. Chris immediately said, I want to call you Missy, and I want to be your family. And at that point, Chris became my sister. Over the years, Chris would invite me to her home and make me a cup of hot tea, and we would talk, but mostly laugh for hours. One thing I will never forget is that Chris always remembered everything that I said. I would talk, and she would remember everything. 2 or 3 weeks would go by, and on a day, it was maybe one of my doctor's appointments, she would call and she would ask how it went. I always felt that she cared so much about people. When I was very young in grammar school, I would visit my girlfriend, and I would never knock or ring the doorbell before entering her home. I would just walk in. I felt so loved there. I never experienced that again until I met Chris. I would go to visit her, and I would just walk in her back door, and she would be waiting for me. It was the second week of this past December, and we planned to get together, and as usual, I just walked into her home, but she wasn't in the living room. And so I called out her name. I heard her call me from her bedroom, and when I entered, she asked if I had gotten her text where she had said not to come over because she wasn't feeling well. And then she said, I am so glad you're here. She asked me to lay down on her bed with her. I laid down and I put my arm around her, and we talked for hours about the most important things. And then we fell asleep. I'm glad you didn't come home at that point. You would have been wondering, what the heck? I think about my sister Chris each and every day, and I will miss her terribly. Chris added so much to my life and to my happiness.
So this is very impromptu. I wasn't planning to do this, but I'm a member of the choir, and when I think of Chris, I think of her in the choir, and I think of Rob. And I want you to know, if she couldn't stand next to Rob, she would get very crabby. The entire choir would have to move around so Chris could stand next to Rob. Same with sitting down in the chair. She had to be next to her Rob. I want to really honor this man because he held the space for her through all those years. She never complained. Sometimes she just showed up for choir and sat and couldn't even sing, but she always showed up, and she measured her time in our concerts. And she was an anchor for Noreen, and Noreen was an anchor for her. But Rob held the space for her to go through her journey with such grace and such love. So I want to really honor this man. Thank you all.
Hi, everybody. I am Chris's granddaughter. And when I was born in 2006 on a yellow couch in Las Vegas, she was the very first person to touch me. And she caught me right out of the womb. It's just, we have some visual representation at the front. But Chris didn't just physically touch me and hug me, but she very spiritually and mentally touched me. One of my biggest memories with her was when I was visiting her one time, and we went to California Pizza Kitchen, and I ordered a smoothie. And when my smoothie arrived, my smoothie was spilling out of the container. My hands were sticky. It was a huge mess. And I told her about it, and she said, "Well, I'm going to fix it for you." And she called over the waiter, and she had the waiter wipe down the cup in front of me. And, you know, even though I didn't agree with her method sometimes, she always stood up for what she thought was right. And she always stood up for me, no matter what. A few weeks ago, I had a really hard day by the beach, and I was just, you know, crying by the beach, calling my mom. And as I was getting it out, as I was getting in my car to leave, I turned to my left and I saw a house painted completely in mermaids. A few years before she died, mermaids became our thing. And I just coincidentally looked to my left and I saw this house covered in painted mermaids, and I just bursted out crying because I knew she was there with me, and I knew she was telling me that she was still here and that she loves me, and that she's always going to be here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Denise. I am the pastor at Community of Christ Church here in Santa Barbara, and we and I have been very blessed over the years to have the choir pieces show up at our congregation. I was here for the holiday or the Christmas concert, and I knew that Chris was not doing well. And when I saw her, my clinical eyes said, "This woman has just days." And then she went up front and she sat down, and then she stood up and she smiled and she sang with every part of God within her. There was grace, there was mercy, there was love, there was joy, and I got to witness courage and love. And that's the memory I came with today, and I didn't know the story of Chris as a midwife. Another clinician that I honor, respect, and am grateful for, that midwives can be part of women's lives with skills and compassion. But then I also thought, as I was sitting here, she was a midwife in her latter days. She was a midwife to the living and those that she loved in the midst of her dying. And she gave everything. So I'll leave here today with more gifts of Chris as a courageous woman and to serve as a midwife in the life journey we all have, and do it with such joy.
Hi, I'm David, and I'm also a member of the choir. I think there's been a lot said about Chris. And what's interesting is you learn, every time you hear these stories, you learn a lot about her, which is really a wonderful thing. Before she passed, she had us over to ask in a question that she had. She wanted to know more about her as we had opinions about her. It was very revealing. But what was more revealing is both her attitude and her desire to know more, always know more. I think what was learned from that experience, and also this experience today, is that, particularly for Rob, who has cared for her a lot, I think what I would ask him when she was not feeling well at the choir afterwards, how's she doing? And he said, I love her and I miss her dearly. It was a story of a great relationship. It was something that a man and a woman has that no one else could have together. And I think what happened is if we take anything away today, we can think about what the relationship that Rob had with Chris and appreciate the both of them and congratulate them for a life well lived.
You know, there's not going to be another one of these, so last chance. Come on. Hang on, Jack. Oh, no, go ahead. Come on. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Tissue. That's why I brought him up there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jack. I was Chris's grandson. I'm going to call her Kiki because that's how I knew her. I still don't know where that name originated. Yeah, but we knew her as Kiki. I'm going to try to keep this short because I could talk all day. She was... There was something about my relationship with Kiki that was just different than anybody else I ever knew in my entire life. From when I was very, very young, I could talk to her about anything. I could tell her anything. It doesn't matter what it was, if it was bad, if it was good, I could tell her, I could talk to her about anything. She was never judgmental, and under any circumstance. She was my therapist, she was my counselor. One of my favorite memories of her was I go to college in San Diego, so I tried to come up here as much as I can to visit her. And there was one time where I came up here to visit her, and I was probably 19 or 20. This was about a year or two ago. And I sat down. We had lunch with Kiki and Rob, and I never knew about her childhood. I never knew about her upbringing. And she had a pretty wild life. She had a crazy childhood. She had a ton of crazy stories that just blew my mind. And it was just so I mean, she's just like, I can't even describe how interesting of a person she was. I can't, words don't do justice how much, I don't know where I would be without her. If I never had her in my life, I don't know where I'd be. She used to call me Muffin, so that's I would give anything in the world to hear her call me Muffin one more time. So, thank you.
My name, excuse me, my name is Joe, and I'm somewhat amazed to sit here and say I have known my good friend Rob for almost 70 years. Known to me in childhood since we're sharing nicknames as Leopard Man. My wife Janet and I have known Chris only in the part of her life when she was with Rob. For, 22 years or something. And certainly we've heard a lot about her earlier days, but we've mostly known them as couples together. And Rob, those have been wonderful times. Those have been really good times. And I sit and try to think of some one little incident to share that is a little bit emblematic. And I think about a lot of conversations that were sometimes difficult, challenging, moving. I think about how insightful, perceptive, and articulate she was. And yet, what bubbles to the surface is a little kind of silly, whimsical, playful moment. And I hope you remember, I'm sure you'll remember this. When they kind of together started telling us a story. They were in Colorado and they were in a grocery store. And they saw something labeled baby loaf pan, which they thought was cute. And we looked at them, and their eyes met, and their eyes were just twinkling. Thank you for sharing that with us, Rob and Chris.
And so as we bring this to a close, we just know that Chris may have passed from our physical sight, but not our spiritual hearts. She continues to live as love always. And as I said before, you are now in vibrationship with her. And all you have to do is tap into the love that you have for her. So to you, Chris, we say thank you. Thank you for being such a blessing in our lives. We will cherish the joy, the faith, the love that has been a part of each of us, and we truly give thanks. In a moment, I'm going to ask each of you just to close your eyes, and we're going to end by dedicating the prayer for protection, not only to Chris, but to Rob as well. So, if you will, close your eyes for a moment. Take a moment to tune into that 1-800-LOVE, the love that you have for such a spectacular person that is never really gone. As you tune in, tap into the love that she is experiencing. Just know that it comes back to you. Once again, just tune in to the gratitude of having known her on this physical plane. And yes, Chris, we are so grateful that we shall live happier, fuller lives because we have known you. We do not say goodbye, but Godspeed your way. And so at this time, let us dedicate the prayer for protection for those of you that know it, not only to her, but let us also send the loving prayer to Rob as well. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well. For this we are grateful, and so it is. Amen. And so we would like to invite you to come out and have refreshments. I'm sure there's more stories to be told. One of the reasons I love memorials, it's like a book, and you get to see all the characters. There's more characters out there, so you'll be hearing more stories. So please share your stories with one another, and God bless you. Thank you so much for your presence here. And so it is. Amen.